Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
These are among the darkest hours for Europe since the end of World War II.
I was just speaking to producer Anthony, and he said right before we went on the air something that I was going to lead with, which he goes, maybe it's a generational thing, but I feel like the world has changed today. And I said, I do too. A younger generation who's only known peace, especially here in America, who doesn't understand the Cold War. I was talking to my young producer yesterday, Steve. He's like 28 years old, 29 years old. He's not like a puppy dog, but he doesn't understand what this is about. Really, he understands gas prices are go up and Russia's going to invade Ukraine, but he's only ever seen that world of war that we talked about in the way that it happened with terrorism. He's never seen this, the mobiling forces, the size of this, going into another country, sweeping in overnight, which is what happened. Everybody knew it was going to happen. Everybody did. They were praying for peace, but the reality is they were never going to get it. Putin is doing what Putin wants to do. That's it. Period. Case closed. He's going to do it. He put out a statement last night as he's declaring war. And, of course, our president, sends out a statement, doesn't appear on camera. I mean, for God's sakes, man. Get with it. He's going to speak today. No, at some point in time, enough is enough. Let's get the sanctions that are real. And not only the sanctions that are real in a sense of just Russia. Let's sanction everybody who wants to work with Russia if we're going to be serious about it. Let's make it uncomfortable if you want to buy their gas and oil. Let's make it uncomfortable for anybody who wants to do business with Russia. Let's make it real. Will it be? No. I mean, the reality is he doesn't care. I said all along, China is watching this big time, paying attention. Leon Panetta talked about this.
It sends a message to China and Taiwan. It sends a message to North Korea, and it sends a message to Iran that the democracies of the world will indeed confront aggression in the 21st century.
And be prepared for other things. Will we go to war? I'd be lying if I said, no, I don't think so. And I'll tell you why. Because I don't think he knows what he's going to do from here. Moldova's probably going to be next. But you also have several countries surrounding there that he's not thrilled with. And 4 of them are NATO countries. They've already today called a meeting for Article 4, where they want to essentially sit down as part of NATO and say, all right, here's the deal, guys. We want an emergency meeting. We want to strengthen and make sure that we show that we are a group here. We're the 3 Musketeers, but in a much larger group, and that is all for one, one for all, right? And that's Article 5. Attack one, attack all. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean cyber attacks? Because that's one of the things they can't control, and they've talked about this. Once they put some of this stuff out there, it may bleed into some NATO countries. What happens if there is a miss? Last night, a missile came close to the Poland border. These are questions that have to be answered. One of the things, having spent a fairly decent amount of time, about a decade on and off living in Europe, is they don't trust each other. These are nations that from the 1800s through, really for centuries, but really from the late 1800s all the way through till 1945, battled each other. And the distrust is real. It's almost bred inside of them. So when they see Russia do this, everybody gets uptight. Everybody starts grabbing for hey, give me those NATO articles. I want to double check and make sure we're insured for this stuff. Are we? Okay, good. Because they understand what the potential is. His speech that was rambling, another one, which some people say, man, did he just say essentially that if anybody intervenes in any way, shape, or form in this, there's going to be consequences that could be nuclear? That seems a bit weird. But it kind of felt that way. And then, of course, you're going to have a crisis of epic proportions when it comes to the refugees. And there could be a plenty.
And I think most worrying for the citizens of the capital from Belarus to the north, which is really only about 2 or 3 hours drive from the capital. That's unimpeded driving, of course. To get here, then that would be truly devastating. I mean, this is a large country, the largest country in Europe. All the warnings have been that you would see large numbers of casualties, large numbers of refugees.
Yes. Some are saying anywhere between 1 in 5 million. 1 in 5 million people heading for Poland, Moldova, anywhere that they can give that gives them safe cover. We woke up today, the world changed. We woke up today, things are different. Well, why should we care? Well, you're going to care in one reason, and that is the fact that oil prices are going through the roof. Oh, are they? Yeah. Oil prices aren't just kind of going up. They shot up today. The Dow is taking an absolute beating, and oil has, yes, broken the ceiling of $100. Currently, it's since about $105 a barrel. With our sanctions, by the way, we were getting anywhere between 7 and 10% of our oil consumption every single day. We were buying a ton of oil from Russia. We won't be doing that anymore. So you could cut that off, as are other nations now. So what's that mean? The oil that is out there, nations are going to be competing for that oil because there'll be less of it. Depending on where you read, they're the second or third largest producer and exporter of oil on the planet. And that goes with natural gas. So what does it mean to us? Prices through the roof. $6, $7, maybe $8 in California. $5 to $6 potentially if this continues to go on for the rest of the nation. That's what this means. Which means every time you go to the store, you're paying more. Every time you go and get yourself a little dinner, you're paying more because the cost of getting things to you now is going to be exponentially higher. Oh, I didn't think of that. And then you've got the other side of it, the what if. The what if scenario. What if they decide to go further? What if they look over and they say, I like Estonia, right? They're another one that is pitched, because the way he's positioned this is, oh, they're coming after us. I mean, we have to take them on because of how violent they are. They're coming for us. They're not coming for you. Ukraine was never coming for you, ever. They didn't want anything to do with you. And yet, here we are. Here we are. And the question then has to be, could there be more? And I think it's a fair question. And how would that affect us? I'm going to go back to this again. Article 5 is pretty simple. You attack one, you attack all. We are part of that group. You attack one, you attack all. In attacking one, no matter who it is, we get involved. Could it happen? Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia? Is it possible? It's absolutely possible. So the world changed today, and not for the better. And I think people need to understand that. We're going to feel it here at home with already supply chain issues. We're going to feel it here at home with oil prices going through the roof. And we're going to do everything we can to conduct a soft war, meaning no violence, but we're going to try to strangle every penny they have. But when you've got the likes of China and several other despots in the world that will ostensibly buy your quote-unquote stuff, and they need oil, at the end of the day, is how much is that really going to hurt him? He's been planning for this. He's stockpiled more money than people can even imagine. He has more money put away. When we talk about who's the richest person on earth, it's not Elon Musk. It's not Bezos. It's not Warren Buffett or Bill Gates. It's Putin. We better go after every single thing we can think of when it comes to their banking, when it comes to crush everything. That includes the ruble. Crush it. Why? Make it worthless. Make it so their inflation is so insane, so uncomfortable for them on a daily basis to do something as like buy a loaf of bread. But as I said it earlier, they have a distrust for one another across Europe. When I lived in England, we always joke, they call it the continent. They do not trust France. They don't trust Germany. Nobody trusts Germany. And they don't trust the Italians. They're waiting for one of them to blink. I can guarantee that in this situation. But one thing's for sure, it's different today, and you can feel it. And it's not just at the gas pump, which we will fill. Maybe not today, but soon. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Lots to get to today, including insanity. We're going to have our trucker protest, apparently, sooner rather than later, maybe. But just to give you an idea of how insane some people are, what do you hear what this member of parliament said in Canada about truckers and horns? You sit there and you hear stuff that Kamala Harris said or Biden, you're like, what? Then you hear this lady and you're like, wow, I'm sorry, guys. She wins. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Calibrate's going to help you lose weight and look great. How did they do it? Well, first of all, sometimes, no matter how good your willpower is, sometimes in life it's the genetic side of things. It's certain things in your body that you're going to have to change that just eating right and exercising all day isn't going to do, because your body and your metabolism needs to be reset, and that's where Calibrate comes in. Calibrate is going to, first and foremost, give you a doctor-guided metabolic reset that, through lifestyle changes and FDA-approved medication, is going to help you start to lose percentage of body fat, and it is amazing. Earliest members lost an average about 14%. That was earliest members. You go on now, those earliest members well over 20+% of their body weight, bringing themselves into a situation where they're healthier and they're happier, and that's what you understand with this. This is about losing serious weight and making lifestyle changes. You're going to get doctor visit, video doctor visit, one-on-one coaching. It is incredible. Fits into anybody's lifestyle. And if you're saying to yourself, I need to make some serious changes, Calibrate is the serious change you need to make. Right now, $50 off. Go to joincalibrate.com. Use promo code CHAD. You're going to get 1 year, just a 1 year metabolic reset when you use that promo code CHAD. It's at joincalibrate.com. Promo code CHAD, save $50. Joincalibrate.com. Promo code CHAD. Chad Benson Show.
Serving up talk radio medium rare and dripping with irony. It's Chad Benson.
I mean, listen, guys, we're talking about the potential for war in Europe. I mean, let's really take a moment to understand the significance of what we're talking about. It's been over 70 years. And through those 70 years, as I mentioned yesterday, there has been peace and security. We are talking about the real possibility of war in Europe.
What? My God. The stuff that she just, the insanity. That's who we sent over there? Like, that was it? We have Blinken and her? Those are our choices? Look, there's a lot that I'm not a fan of Trump. This insanity of the right now, that and the hatred of Biden is such that, and the love of Trump with some sycophants out there have people going and saying to themselves, oh, Biden's a strong guy, right? Biden is a thug. He is a bully. he is a lot of things. Strong isn't one of them. Yes, is he a bad dude? Oh, yeah, he was. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. He was much worse than Corn Pop. But as Americans, get your act together. My God. Look, they continue because Trump, it's a great narrative to hate Trump too, right? So that's the beauty of both. And I think a lot of people out there are still pissed that, well, there was really no Russia. And the fact is that Putin's gone and done this at Biden time, right? So that right there is, oh my God. And there was an article yesterday, and we touched a bit on it, that, Trump wasn't the lapdog that everybody thought he was. And quite frankly, more than on a few occasions, he essentially said to him, hey, man, if you do anything, I'm going to fire missiles into Moscow. Do you understand? Do you understand that? When he killed Soleimani, was it, when he fired on Syria, he was having dinner with Xi at Mar-a-Lago, and he's like, man, I just fired a whole bunch of missiles at Syria. Ha! What do you think of that? There was a certain sense of, like, this guy's kind of crazy. That's what we've always talked about. Monsters are always good to be fought by other monsters. And that's something I don't think people realize. But this want and this need to hate both sides, this is when we should be coming together. We have a different world. We're waking up in a world where we understand what a lot of this means. We're waking up in a world who, if you're over 45 or so, you understand that this is a different thing than it was yesterday or a week ago. And that's something I don't think, a younger generation appreciates and gets what this means. Because if it messes with their avocado toast and, oh, Chad. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Speaking of avocado toast, is the younger generation weaker? We're going to touch on that. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Definitely feel the world has changed more than a bit. Ukraine being invaded, and that's what it is. It's his BS that he spews is tremendous. Nobody buys it. Nobody's believing any of it. I think we can all understand that he's full of it. And if you buy it, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. So he's come in, and he's come hard, and it's going to get ugly. It is. We didn't put overwhelming sanctions on him at first. Now it's going to be insurgency. From what I understand, that he, is, and as we talked to Mike Lyons yesterday, he talked a bit about what they're going to do, how they're going to go about doing a lot of this, attack. And it was very interesting because he just said, hey, it's blitzkrieg.
I think deep attack first, coming from the north, sealing off the kind of the western shoreline or the western flank of whatever Ukraine military is there. I do think that they attack military targets, military bases. I think they're going to be under missile as well as aircraft attack. We're going to go after, for example, Ukraine has some limited anti-aircraft defense systems. They know that they have to take those out for Russian air forces to have air superiority. The Russians have learned from the United States. They've learned from 2003. They've learned from Desert Storm. They've learned how to fight this conventionally if they want to. They know they can make it no match. So they're going to take all those lessons and do it. So I think it'll be more of a blitzkrieg than it will be a gradual process, because Vladimir Putin knows he's got to maintain initiative and momentum. And the only way to do that is to go full out.
Yeah. And that's just pretty much what he is eyeing. You see his helicopters. He's heading towards, people are saying he's already in Kyiv. The helicopters, you're seeing people parachute in. He is coming hard. He wants to essentially roll over them within 72 plus hours and get this thing done and see people flee. And it's amazing. This is why the world has changed. The Dow's getting crushed. You're going to have oil prices. One of the things that, that people need to understand is markets themselves, like stock markets, the commodities markets, they like certainty, right? Boring is good, right? Predictable is good. This is all unpredictable. You cannot predict what's going to happen. You can't. You can't. You don't know. You don't know if he's going to step from here to another nation. You don't know if he's going to hold right now where he's at and just cyber war for a little while, and then looks like it calms down and they get somewhere, and then overnight he attacks again. So none of these things that we're getting, because Putin's the only one who knows. And I said it the other day, I don't think he knows. I don't think he knows. I don't think he is really thinking, okay, I'm going to do this, and this. On the other side, you've got Zelensky, who's the president. People are urging him to get out. He's saying no.
The Ukrainian president has spoken 3 times over the last 3 nights. He's been very clear that he will not leave the capital, Kiev, despite being instructed to do so by the Americans, or suggested that he do so by the Americans, that he and the people will stand and fight. And that's what we've been hearing from the Ukrainian military and from people who were called up.
Yeah, and that's what happened yesterday. They called emergency declaration. They did that in several other countries surrounding the area, getting ready for the potential of not only refugees, but you never know. But one of the other things they talked about, and Mike Lyons said, was some people are going to stay and fight. And some people, you live to fight another day. I was listening to him talk on another program. And he was talking about that, he said, look, if you're 60, 65 years old, this is your home. You might tell your family, and you guys I'm going to go down. If this is the way I go, I go. You're 30 and you've got kids. You might want to get them the hell out of there. I mean, it's a much different thing. So they're going to have to face that, because by the sounds of it, they've already said, you're not shooting us in the back. You're going to be shooting us in the front, meaning they're going to be coming at you. It's just, what does that really look like when you're just completely outgunned? The one problem that Putin is going to have is if he tries to occupy, which he says he doesn't want to do, is the vastness of it and insurgency will cause him all kinds of serious issues. Holding on to that, and we've seen that with us. What went on in Iraq, and that could be his big issue. If indeed he gets what he wants in a short period of time. We'll see. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. And, we talked about the banking, going after the banking, doing certain things like that, which is what you have to do, right? You're going to try to choke them off from all of the money. You're going to make it so there's an embargo. You're not going to do any business with them whatsoever. Make it so the places he turns are going to be some South American country, Venezuela, but they've got more oil than they know what to do with, so that doesn't help them any. But you're going to have to turn to China in particular. And you're going to have to go after all of their banks. You freeze the hell out of everything. The thing is, he's got more cash essentially than foreign debt. And that's a problem. If it was switched, it would be a little bit easier to really choke them out. That's why it's not going to be an overnight choking of things. They've been preparing for this. They've been putting cash away. It's a rainy day. They've got their rainy day funds. Now it's the people that don't. But when you're a despot and an authoritarian, you don't really care about the people. The people are numbers. That's it. Do they have the strength and the want that if this thing gets ugly, that they're going to stick there with him? Or are they going to turn at some point? That'll be interesting to see. Will he start to have trouble inside? But the banking thing is, we saw it up in Canada, right? Canada with the truckers. We've got our trucker protest. They're supposedly on their way. I don't know how many truckers there are going to be. 1,000 is what they're talking about. They're going to try to get there by the State of the Union speech. And they're going to, I don't know what they're planning to do. I said yesterday, if I was a trucker and I was running this, I would tell everybody, this is the protest we need to do. Don't be on the road. Drop your load off, go home, and do nothing. Drop the load off, go home, do nothing. Make them ask questions about where are you? Why is this commerce come to a complete stop? Because when you start to get into the point where you're making traffic an issue, I've been pretty, across the board, I've been pretty spot on with you mess with traffic, I don't like whatever it is that you're doing. So you go and you just allow them to come to you. Make them ask questions like, where is everybody? But they're supposed to be heading there. And, of course, New York Times, a trucker caravan with far-right links heads to Washington, D.C. Because that's the easy thing to say. Like January 6th, right? January 6th is the new you're racist. And it's not just here. This is the most insane thing I have heard. I mean, let's look. Kamala Harris. These are some of the things that she has said.
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
What? Like, you're like, huh? But this lady takes the cake of, are you kidding me?
How much vitriol do we have to see of honk honk, which is an acronym for Hail Hitler?
Excuse me?
Do we need to see by these protesters on social media?
Hold on, I need to hear that again.
How much vitriol do we have to see of honk honk, which is an acronym for Hail Hitler? Do we need to see by these protesters on social media?
So, 2 honks, Heil Hitler. So, 1 honk is, what's up? Several honks is, blah, 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 you're a jerk. But, Heil Hitler. That's insane. What's scarier is, somebody voted for you. Somebody put you in a position of power. They said, this one seems to be the most mature one who could do the job. But instead, they're Nazis. They're not Nazis. Stop saying things are Nazis. Even Putin screaming about, we're going to denazify the Ukraine. There's no Nazis. You know what a Nazi was? He was a real person that fought in World War II. A skinhead idiot that carries a swastika or has lightning bolts tattooed somewhere. You know what you are? You're a bigoted white supremacist. You're not a Nazi. You can call yourself that. You can call yourself anything, right? Identify however the hell you want. But that's what that is. The fact that you would go and say, you know what, honk honk? You know what that reminds me of? Heil Hitler. Really? How'd you get there? It could mean, how are you? Nope, could not mean that. It could mean blank off. Could not. Heil, I speak horn. Heil Hitler. You do? You speak horn? Oh, yeah, I hear it. Oh, my God. How did we get here? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson shows your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. It is ugly. It is nasty. The world's going to be looking at what we do. There are 2 paths that we can take in this world. More and more people need to understand that. I don't think they do. And oil is racing. With that being said, what can they do here in America when it comes to the oil markets? Not a lot. Even with all the oil we were producing at times, our consumption is so massive. 17 million barrels a day is what we consume. Think about that for a second. 17 million barrels a day. And we have produced a lot. And there were times when we had extra, if you will, to send out. Plus, we take some of that, we pull it into our strategic reserves. We also export some of that. But all that being said, the reality is we consume so much. And the White House has been bracing everybody that this is coming.
He is going to do everything he can to reduce the impact on energy costs for the American people. And that means engaging closely with partners around the world. It means considering a range of options that are all on the table to reduce the impact on the oil markets. And that is what would impact energy costs.
Yeah. Still. Uncertainty. Sanctions. What do the sanctions look like today? How are those sanctions going to play out when it comes to what we're going to be doing with other nations that may want to aid aid Russia by buying tons of their oil? Are we going to look at them and say, if you're associated with, then we're not doing business with? And that's China's big issue. Because China's like, we're going to do everything we can to help out, but at the same time, we have interest in the West. And that interest is we fund a ton of their world. We buy cheap goods. They make cheap goods. So if it gets too hot for them, and the fear is that this is going to go south, and that people are thinking about saying, hey, you know what? I don't want to do business here anymore. That's when Xi will make a decision. But Xi's also watching this because he's thinking, man, if these guys don't do anything, but these cheap sanctions, they don't really do anything, then we're taking Taiwan. And that's when you're going to care even more, because that's when we will get involved. And not with sanctions. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Lots more to get to. Going to touch a bit on what the Pentagon said about today's generation of kids, what they call them, based on what they see at things like boot camp. It's very interesting. It is. And it's also interesting what they said about skeletons, their skeletons in particular. Plus, when you die, does your life really flash before your eyes? Something accidental happened, and in doing this, they found out something about what happens to your brain when you die. 323-538-2423. Nutrisystem wants to help you guys. There's a difference between losing a ton of weight and then guys like, getting to a point where you want to drop 30, 40 pounds and you can do it, but there's a certain sense where diet food sucks. I don't want to eat a can of tuna and that's it. And then you're like, well, what else is there? Well, it's Nutrisystem. Up to 30 grams of protein. You're not going to be hungry. You're going to be fulfilled, if you will. The food tastes delicious. And I mean that because I eat it. And you know me, I eat like a 5-year-old. My clothes feel better because I'm having to buy new clothes. Everybody around here yesterday is like, wow, Chad, you got new clothes. I'm like, I'm losing weight. It's crazy. It is. And it's awesome. They've got tons of great food, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and yes, desserts. Get some ice creams in there. Shipped directly to you. You don't have to go anywhere right now. 50% off. What makes this great? Nutritional science that's advanced helps keep your blood sugars level, which helps you lose weight. And it tastes delicious. Oh, Nutrisystem.com/Chad. 50% off right now. Nutrisystem.com/Chad. Go there, save 50% off all plans. Nutrisystem.com/Chad. Check out the website for details. Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
All the talk of war, because, well, it's going on right now in Eastern Europe. The Pentagon says Nintendo generation has weak skeletons. How do they figure this out? According to U.S. Army Major, Americans' youth are living in a sedentary world. And because of that, it makes them more fragile, prone to injury, harder to successfully and easily transition from civilian life to military. And it's very interesting. So what they did is there's an article titled Why Today's Gen Z is at Risk for Boot Camp Injuries. And they talk about the fact that what you're seeing is they call them the Nintendo generation, right? They've got injuries ranging from acute fractures and falls, to tears in the ACL, muscle strains, stress fractures. And a lot of that is because, well, they don't do what we did, right? Like, I'm 51 years old. When I was a kid, for me to bike 40 miles in a day was no big deal. It really wasn't. 20, 30 miles all the time. I went from my house in Orange County to Long Beach during the summer almost every day and back. And throughout the day, we'd ride all over Long Beach. That's a 10-mile ride to get there. And a 10-mile ride back. And then I'd be riding throughout the day. It was always out. Now, we didn't have the stuff that they had, obviously. But we were definitely, in some senses, absolutely stronger. But they're talking about just basic things like, well, Jim ran and his legs fell off. You're like, that's not good. Oh, my goodness. It's crazy. They said the soft, this is the generation, as they call it, is the new spin on the soft Americans. But it was also outdated. Generations of kids whose parents through the Nintendo was the stand-in for video games that were called Generation X, which is true. We always think the other generation's weaker. But when it comes to injuries, this one seems to be a little bit weaker because they don't have the same use that we did. Oh, crazy. Yeah, you think? Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Ukraine is a country that for decades has enjoyed freedom and democracy and the right to choose its own destiny. We and the world cannot allow that freedom just to be snuffed out.
UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson on it, still waiting for our president. Should have said something hours ago. Whenever you're listening to this, he'll have spoken. But at some point in time, though, where were you? Right, the phone call at 3 a.m. This happened. It wasn't 3 a.m. It was like 10 his time. The world's going to go in two directions. The free world, us, or the authoritarian world, where you have dictators, that thugs, you've got the communist, or whatever China is, there's pseudo-communism, capitalism, but really it's about the Communist Party. Those are the choices. Those are the choices. These authoritarian dictators, these leaders by pretend democracy, which is you guys get a vote. By the way, I've created a new thing, which is what Putin did, where I'm above all, and I have a lifetime contract. Oh. Or the communist way, which is, yeah, you guys can all vote. Here's the 4 or 5 hand-chosen people that you get to vote for. That's it. There's no other, hey, where's the other part? No, this is it. This is it. You get to vote for these. And oh, by the way, don't say anything. And oh, by the way, do what we say. And oh, by the way, our neighbors used to be ours on a map, and we think that they are having issues. We should go over and take some of those issues away from them to help them out, which is the auspice of what the pooter has done here. Under the auspices of we're coming to save everybody. No, what it is vile, evil, an attack. That's it. An invasion.
This is a deliberate, cold-blooded, and long-planned invasion.
Yeah. It's a guy that's the General Secretary of the UN, which is useless. I think we all know that, right? Like they couldn't stop a food fight at a junior high. Like that's how I don't care what anybody says. They're a waste of time. And watching last night some of that stuff with the UN and all the while knowing they're going in, it's been planned. It was planned in the way that they wanted it to be planned. The days were already out there. Some of the stuff had already been pre-taped. This is where it is. Now the question is, will there be more? People are worried, for sure, that there may be more. Not just here. People on the streets in places like Poland.
Poland's going to get it. If he gets through Ukraine, Poland's going to get it too.
What's that mean? Well, if Poland gets it, that means that he has to now face NATO. And no matter what the president says, and he has reiterated at times, and Biden has made it clear, the reality is while this is not our fight, in some ways it is our fight, because we made a promise. I don't think people realize that we made a promise. The Ukrainian diplomats, I think it was on with Brett Baer, talking about why we as Americans should care.
But for the average American sitting on the couch at home, why should they be concerned about what happens with Ukraine?
3 simple reasons. First, in 1994, Ukraine abandoned its 3rd largest nuclear arsenal in the world in response for security guarantees promised to us by a number of countries, including the United States. America always keeps its promises.
Yeah. We did make that promise. Now, the promise is, you can go, it's the Budapest, it's like a memorandum thing. You can look at it, and it's not this isn't certified, ratified, but it was kind of like in good faith, right? Hey, you guys give up all of this stuff. You have the 3rd largest stockpile of weapons on the planet that could destroy the planet, nuclear weapons, and you don't control them all because Russia still had a lot of the codes for those, but you've got a ton. We're worried about your state. You've got some people in there that are pro-Russia, and you've got the fall of the Iron Curtain has made all of these weapons up for sale to the highest bidder, regardless of what continent you're on. So maybe it's best for the West and the world that you get rid of these, and in exchange, we got your back. In exchange, if anybody makes any untoward movement towards you to try to conquer you and take you over, you know what? Handshake on it. We got your back. Oh. Yeah, that's kind of something. That means something. That's a promise that we made. Well, that was a different guy that made that promise. I didn't make that promise. No, but you, that person, right? You go and you look, and who's that person? It's Clinton. They made that promise in good faith, backed by the American people. America made that promise. Why else should we care?
And we did something which to strengthen world security, something that was in the interests of the United States back in 1994. It's time for America to stick to its promise and pay back and make a contribution to our security. Second, if Putin succeeds in Ukraine, this will send a message across the entire world that the West is incapable of defending what it stands for, its principles and its interests. And other players in other parts of the world will challenge the United States based on them.
Absolutely true. 100%. Leon Panetta reiterated that today about what the potential may be for other global powerhouses who have nuclear weapons and who would also have eyes on other prizes around them, what they might think.
It sends a message to China and Taiwan. It sends a message to North Korea, and it sends a message to Iran that the democracies of the world will indeed confront aggression in the 21st century.
And do we value that? We're blessed, man. We live in the most amazing country on the planet. We are isolated. You know who's going to invade us? Nobody. Nobody will ever invade us. We have Canada to the north. We have Mexico to the south. You're not getting through. Hell, first of all, the reality is, and we've talked about it before, a couple of my buddies who are the what if ever scenario if somebody tried to get through Mexico. America's the cartel's biggest clients. They're going to protect that. You have to mess with the cartels first. Good luck. You're not coming through Canada, right? So we're seeing you coming. Then there's those pesky oceans. And then there's the thing that, well, for everybody out there who hates that Second Amendment, the fact that we have more guns than people, could you imagine what that would be like? Honestly, if you tried. So we're never getting invaded. It's just never going to happen. But other countries face that on a daily basis. Yesterday, it was leaked out on accident, but it got out because people monitor stuff, that how do the Chinese reporters and news portray Russia, Ukraine, and the West? And in the memo was something that paraphrasing here, that we are defenders of Russia and their want to protect themselves from NATO aggression. And remember, we will need Russia when we take care of the Taiwan issue. So yes, they're watching it, as are the markets. The markets today getting thumped. The markets today feeling it. No doubt. They're going to be feeling it for who knows how long at this point in time, because we're still not quite sure what's the next strategy from here. Where else do they go here? Is there more to this? How much bloodier is it going to be? Then, of course, the sanctions, which we'll see what that does, if any, and how does China and other nations who are sympathetic towards the Russians, how do they play this in helping them out? But already today, we've seen oil overnight jump up. Currently, oil broke through that $100 barrel, and it's sitting at about $104 right now. But as they go deeper into the Ukraine, as the sanctions get put on, and then people start to see, because that's the one thing that people are waiting for. A lot of Europe gets a ton of oil and gas from Russia, a ton of it. We get about 7 to 10% of our oil from Russia. We consume so much. So what you're going to find is less oil and gas are going to be available, which means the stuff that is available, there isn't going to be a lot. More people are going to be wanting to purchase it than there is available, which will send prices up and away, which will send even more inflationary issues to us here at home. This is where we are. The world has changed. And now we have to not sit back. We have to be prepared for what comes next. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. A lot of stuff still to get to. Squeeze it all into a little what's trending next. Plus, 1 in 3 kids who were home during the pandemic, 1 in 3 might have enjoyed it. Talk about that. A lot of other good stuff. More about the market, too. What's going to happen? Where could it be going? What does it mean for us as consumers? How much more is inflation going to bite us in the butt? So this is a day. Definitely the world is feeling it today in a much different way. Car Shield. 24/7 roadside assistance. Rental car for free while your car's in the shop. And as we were just talking about, the price of inflation, things going up. One of those things over the last several months has been used cars. Used cars have shot up. I mean, my car that I bought a few years ago is worth more now than it was when I bought it. That's crazy. Normally you drive it off the lot and it goes, no. So I don't have a warranty. So what I do, Car Shield protects me in the event that something may happen. It's not if, but when. So why not protect your car, protect your bank account, get yourself Car Shield. Like I said, you get that 24/7 roadside assistance, rental car for free. Shop, you choose the shop, they get them paid directly. You pay a small deductible. They're going to handle the paperwork and all that other stuff, the expensive payment. 1 million drivers have gone with Car Shield, and for a reason. They're the best. So what are you waiting for? Right now, save 10%, carshield.com/Benson. Check it out for yourself. They got budget plans to fit anybody's budget. carshield.com/Benson. carshield.com/Benson. Deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Irreverent? Yeah. So what? It's the Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Let's take a peek. The Inter of Nets. Find out what's trending. Start over in the Google land. It's the Google land! Dow is tumbling big time as, of course, Russia's invaded the Ukraine. Just woke up. Crimea, Poland. Start going through it. Belarus. People are going, what's Belarus doing? Well, they're a puppet regime of the of Putin, and apparently some of the Belarus military is with the Russians in this. You start looking at other things that are trending because, come on, we're America. So we're like, what else is going on? The Celebrity Big Brother is trending because, Ben Stiller is trending. Ooh. No way. Yeah, he's totally trending. Taiwan is also trending because some people see Taiwan and the Ukraine and the essential parallels between the two in the way that China has been saying for all along, you're a rogue state that's broken away from us. You are not your own country. You are China, and we must reunite you. It's for your best interest that we do so. And the Taiwanese are like, Head over to Twitter, which is more political, as we all know. Just like to give you a nice little differing look at things. Nuclear. Vladimir Putin appeared to threaten nuclear strikes if any country tries to attack Russia. Poland is also trending because I think Poland believes that they may be on the next page of whatever Putin is doing. No way. Yeah. Syria is trending. John Kerry is trending. Who knows why? He's got all kinds of stuff. Do you remember when Mitt Romney said, Russia's our biggest threat? Everybody's like, shut up. You're an idiot. That's why you can't be president. Okay, he was right. He was right. I saw the Washington Post. You know what? It's time maybe for all of us to admit that maybe Mitt Romney was right about Russia. Well, yeah, Russia and China. You put them together. It is, that right there is the axis of evil part 3. Because you got to throw in North Korea, a little bit of Iran. They make up maybe one country of evil. But it is ugly for sure. And, of course, the Dow and gas prices. People are watching gas prices because we are a country that lives in, again, relative. We never have to wake up tomorrow and go, did you guys hear explosions? And think, oh, God, Mexico's invaded. They do it like inch by inch. One person by one person, but they're not coming here to destroy. They're coming here for opportunity. So very nice, Chad. Just being honest. On the other side of stuff, we look around and I don't think we understand the blessings that we have. I don't. But how does this affect us? Well, it affects you because you're going to wake up in the next several days and every time you go to get gas, you're like, man, it's up another 12 cents, up another 14 cents. When all of a sudden you look up and wow, gas is $5. And maybe you're thinking $3.50 was high. Or in California, gas is what? Yeah. That's how it affects us just to begin with. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
As Ukrainians that have fled into Poland as their nation is invaded by a thug tyrant who has gone in there and is taking the country over. It started with some fake baloney about some sort of genocide in certain parts of the Donbass region, and is now, of course, they are spreading out from there, and it's sad. The world has changed overnight like that. And we are going to feel it. And that's the thing. People are like, how does this affect me again? Well, the pump.
With oil prices jumping dramatically by tonight, analyst Patrick DeHaan at Gas Buddy tells us gas prices will be going up. They're already high in most places, but he says we will see a dramatic rise in the coming days.
For Americans, they can expect the national average likely to hit $3.75 a gallon in the next 2 weeks.
And in places like California, where many people are already paying $5 a gallon for regular unleaded, he says in the coming week, $6 a gallon is not out of the question.
I was talking to my uncle the other day. I said, he lives in California. I said, Paul, what'd you pay for gas today? He's like, don't even ask, dude. So what'd you pay? He goes, I paid like $105 to fill up my car. I said, sweet mamma jamma. It's insane. Think about that. Even if you put $10 in your car, right? Even if you make $20 an hour, it's 3 hours of work to fill up your car. That is crazy. And this is what we have right now. We've got a nation that is attacking another nation, and that is going to cost us dearly at the pump, which means it's going to cost us what? Also at the grocery store. It's an article today talking about the battle of inflation. Because what do we want? We want a scapegoat. We live in a country where we need a scapegoat. Who's a scapegoat? Whose fault is it? Republicans are like, it's all you guys' fault over there on the left. You guys screwed us with this. And the right's like, and the left is like, no, it's the greedy corporations. And there's no doubt that corporations will take advantage of opportunities with inflation to build in a little something more. But not a ton. It's over. Even the Washington Post called that BS. And not all of it you can blame singularly on what's going on with the Biden administration. But there's plenty to blame there. And at the end of the day, you're the one in power. You're the one who is the leader of the free country. People are looking at you saying it's you who's in power. And your party is in power. So you guys should try to come up with a fix. Shouldn't you? Isn't that what you guys should be doing?
He is going to do everything he can to reduce the impact on energy costs for the American people. And that means engaging closely with partners around the world. It means considering a range of options that are all on the table to reduce the impact on the oil markets. And that is what would impact energy costs.
Yeah. But energy costs are going to push everything up. But it's a very interesting article because, look, let's be real. You had COVID. You've had several other things. And you notice we don't talk about COVID. Like, nobody's talking about COVID. COVID doesn't exist at this moment in time because the world's changed in a much different way. The world's literally got far more dangerous than I think an older generation understands. This is, you've got a guy right now who's got grand visions of reuniting the best of what the Soviets had. And pushing his might. And then you've got another guy in Xi in the Communist Party saying, well, if nothing really happens, we're going to flex our might and take Taiwan. And that's history making. COVID's like, people are done. We're moving on to something else. But every day we're going to work. Right? Every day we're buying groceries and things, and it's costing us more and more every day. And at the end of the day, when we sit down and we look and we go, there's got to be something that we can do about this. You're not looking at somebody who isn't controlling Congress. You're not looking at somebody who isn't sitting in the president's and saying, well, why don't you guys fix it? So that's what you have. You've got inflation, and inflation is it was always going to be the mess for the Democrats between critical race theory, school boards, wokeness. You were also going to have inflation. And the things that we look at, and we go back to that research last week, and that poll that came out from Pew that said pew, 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 or Gallup, and it talked about the top three things. I mean, it went down all the way down to like 15 or 20 things, but the healthcare cost is always other. Number one is economy. And then you've got the reaction to COVID and schools. Those are going to be massive. Well, the economy, we still vote with our pocketbook, and we're going to vote. And I think everybody realizes it's one of those situations where people are standing back and they're saying to themselves, it's not if the Republicans are going to gain back the House and good chance of winning the Senate. It's how much are they going to do it by? Anything could change, but based on what we're seeing now, too, going on, it's going to be tough. It is. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. So, speaking of COVID, though, the lockdown, a very interesting study about the lockdown came out. And one of the things we talked about is kids, right? The suffering of kids, little kids in particular. You know, you're older. You've gone through a lot of that learning. You've gone through a lot of that stuff that's completely new. Facial cues, language, things of that nature. You have at least some understanding of certain things. But younger kids really kids across the board suffered when they shouldn't have. And we've seen that with mental health, the depression, suicide rates, eating disorders, et cetera, et cetera. But it wasn't, according to this study, all awful.
A minority of young people, just 1 in 3, say they were happier during pandemic lockdowns. Researchers from the University of Cambridge say 1 in 3 teens and adolescents felt less lonely, avoided bullying, got more sleep and exercise, and their mental health improved while staying at home due to COVID-19 health mandates. Study authors say the common narrative was that the pandemic had overwhelmingly negative effects on children and young people, but they say some may have not been as affected as others.
Yeah. And those kids who, like Jack, my son, right? Like, we're in a good position. He spent a lot of time out here, which I think helped him tremendously because he's got his 2 stepdaughters, and my little brother came, and they were able to do a lot of stuff together. And during the pandemic, while it was crazy and chaotic in a lot of places, and the shutdown, and he had access. Every kid had a computer. They all had access to high-speed internet. They had help whatever they needed, and it was just like it was a long-term summer school break for some kids. For me, and I can look at this, it was weird. People ask me, like, my high school experience. I didn't really have a high school experience. I went to high school for about a year and a half. Then I was playing so much soccer, coming in and out of school. I went on independent study. It was just easier for me to do. Then I knew my path. I was going to go to Europe, and I talked to my mom about it. And, and she's like, whatever, because that's my mom. That's why I love her. And so I just did my independent studies because I was training so much. And then I would travel a lot. My brother, for the last 2 years of his 2.5 years of his high school experience, because of hockey, he was gone 2-3 weeks out of the year. I mean, one day he'd be in Toronto, the next day he's in Detroit. Then he's traveling all over the world playing hockey. He'd come home and so all of his team was in that position. So that's different. Plus, the internet helped for a lot of people. We didn't have that, right? Like, I didn't have that when I was a kid. I just went and I trained all day. I didn't have the internet. That helps in some ways. It wasn't all negative, but you also have to look at it. If you're in the inner city or you're somewhere where you don't have access to other things, you're not playing sports, you're worried about your meals and things like that. There's where the nightmare came from. you're upper middle class and you're playing sports and you're still doing things and you're not in a state that's completely shut down, you know what? It's probably fun.
Students who felt better in lockdown were more likely to report positive lockdown experiences of school, home, relationships, and lifestyle. For example, compared with their peers, a greater percentage also reported decreases in bullying. They also had improved relationships with friends and family, less loneliness, better management over their schoolwork, and had better balance of sleep and exercise.
Yeah, and the family side thing, too. I think a lot of people grew closer with their kids and family. That's what you're seeing when it comes to the work thing, where a lot of people are like, I don't want to go back to work in the office full time. I like the flexibility of being at home. I'll get my job done. And businesses are doing that. One of the business, over the last, I would say, 72 hours, what you've heard from a lot of businesses that we're telling people, well, Omicron's pretty much gone. It's time for people to come back. People are making decisions to come back. And bosses are saying, you know what? I can give people raises by just telling them not to come to work. I can save myself the office space and the money, but telling them they don't have to fill their gas tank every couple of days is a boom for them. And I think people have enjoyed it. Gave people a fresh perspective on a lot of different things when it came to work and to that balance of life. But for kids, kids are always resilient. Where I think it hurt the kids the most or that elementary age school, like from preschool, kindergarten up to, all the way up through like 5th and 6th grade, where you are developing, you are learning, you are taking a ton of stuff in. That is the place I think it really, really hurt, because so much of what learning is and what language is 90% of it's unspoken. And having a mask and being, in situations, and some of these kids, this all they've ever known. That's crazy. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. When you die, what happens to your brain? Those moments at the end. Does life really flash before your eyes? We will talk about that. Calibrate wants to help you lose weight, and that should be great. There's a little rhyme there. I'll tell you about my friends over at Calibrate. Percentage of body weight. One of the things about, we talk about diets and things like that. The thing about Calibrate that's different is they're going to give you a sustainable way of living your life. And not all of it's just based on making some lifestyle changes. That's a part of it. But for a lot of people, you're fighting something that you're not going to be able to win without certain help. And they've got FDA-approved medication that's going to help you with that. It's going to help you reset your metabolism so your metabolism can feel comfortable losing weight without panicking and your body going, you're losing weight, you're starving, I've got to stop losing weight. That's a simple way of saying that. The thing about Calibrate that's great, it fits into anybody's lifestyle. It is easy to do. They're not asking you to make massive changes. What they're asking you to do is make solid choices and allow the medication to do the work. You're going to get one-on-one doctor visits through video. You're going to have a one-on-one opportunity to work with coaches via an app. It is incredible. Fits into anybody's lifestyle. FDA-approved medication. Join Calibrate.com right now. Use code CHAD, $50 off 1 year metabolic reset. Join Calibrate.com. Use that code to save big. Join Calibrate.com. Use code CHAD. Simple and easy. Watch what happens. Join Calibrate.com. Code CHAD. Chad Benson Show.
Check out our Chad Benson Show Facebook page where you can hang out or hang your grievances out to dry. This is Chad Benson.
So what happens when you die? Really was an accident that this took place. So a man who was having some issues, they were doing a brain scan of him. He was 87, and he died of a heart attack. While doing that, they were doing EEG and several other things. They saw what took place to his brain. And it showed that your life might actually flash before your eyes, because the area of the brain that showed activity essentially was the area where your memories are stored. Ooh. Yeah. They said, we measured 900 seconds of brain activity around the time of death and set a specific focus to investigate what happened in the 30 seconds before and right after the heart stopped beating. That was Dr. Ajmal Zemmer, a neurosurgeon at the University of Louisville. Brain oscillations or brain waves are various patterns in the brain activity in living humans. Different waves serve different purposes. This one and the waves that they've got, where it was located within the brain, essentially was an area where they have processing conscious perception and memory flashbacks. Oh, whoa. So you might have a situation where your brain starts to relive, hopefully the good bits of your life. Heard my buddy say the other day, he wants the director's cut. I don't want the bad stuff. So that is interesting, because it's what's the greatest unknown of all, right? Like, I mean, it's like, oh, we can talk about Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot and UFOs but that's the greatest unknown that everybody wonders. And if you don't wonder it, you're insane. Of course you do. But according to them, the flashbacks, the area where they are storing the stuff. So think of it. It started firing off. Spew, 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 spew. It's crazy. It's like dreaming. The brain is so weird and amazing. Like we are. It's like, okay, it's like for me as a Christian who believes in God, the intelligent design, whatever you want to call it. The reality is, when you dream, one side of your brain watches the dream, essentially. Like, oh, quick, guys, get the popcorn. We're dreaming. It's just incredible. 323-538-2423. It's text line. Feel free to text me. Grab the podcast where available. I was looking at the world's dumbest. The beauty of the internet and the insanity of the internet is all the great things we can do, but then it gives us Twitter. Some of this stuff is insane. Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks. Right wing doesn't love Putin just because he's authoritarian, tyrannical leader. They love him because he's all capital white. And you're just like, my God, he's a white warlord. Even for you, man. And then today, Stephen King tweeted out now Putin's dealing with a real president, and like within hours, it's been invaded. We got to stop this. We do. Look, everybody get your heads out of your ass. My God, everything's race. Everything's my team, your team. At this point, maybe we need to be a little bit, at least act like, what, guys, we can all be in this together with the Ukraine. America made a promise, and it feels like we're more interested in fighting each other. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Я не бачу. Ой, Боже.
That right there is a woman and a small child in their house in the Ukraine, in a residential area with her family, hearing something and looking outside, seeing a fighter jet fly by and fire a missile. I told you this a couple weeks ago, and I continue to tell you this. We will never, we've never seen anything like this. You could go to the military channel and you can watch World at War and those things. Those are, for many people, that's not real. Those were so long ago. It's black and white. It's after the fact that you're seeing it, years, decades and decades ago. This is different. This is real time. This is different. This war is going to be fought, yes, on the battlefield, but it's going to be fought online as well. And people are watching it. And people are going to see it in ways that we've never, ever seen anything like it in real time, live streamed. As a human being, not thinking, sweet Jesus, did you see that? Did you feel that? As a child, I have a 3-year-old. I could not even imagine what they must be going through, because a dictator, using the word dick before tater is a good thing, has decided his thuggery and his insanity and his need to push the envelope with the West and to poke in the eye of all of us how great and powerful he is. This is what we have. This is what we have. We made a promise. And this right here, I keep going back. This is one of the people that is a Russian diplomat here talking to Brett Baer about why us Americans should care.
But for the average American sitting on the couch at home, why should they be concerned about what happens with Ukraine?
3 simple reasons. First, in 1994, Ukraine abandoned its 3rd largest nuclear arsenal in the world in response for security guarantees promised to us by a number of countries, including the United States. America always keeps its promises, and we did something which to strengthen world security, something that was in the interests of the United States back in 1994. It's time for America to stick to its promise and pay back.
That promise was made, and are we keeping it? Biden, he looks feckless. He looks weak. Sorry. And you out there on the right who for whatever reason have this bizarre fascination with Putin and because of your disdain for Biden, that is not how we move ahead. Sorry. Putin is awful. He'd cut your heart out in a heartbeat. Does not care. Biden, though, doesn't look strong. 2 ways the world can go. These are the choices. You're going to go with the authoritarian, or you're going to go with democracy and freedom. Those are the choices that we have. Woke up this morning, went to bed last night knowing it's a different world. At 51, I know what the Cold War is like. At 51, I understand. Younger kids don't. They don't get it. I'm like, what? This younger generation has had nothing to fight. The war on terror was not the war on an oppressive regime that wants to rebuild something and become a threat to freedom. That's not what it was. And because we live in a world of we're more narcissists than ever, and everybody, we all think we're somebody. We all think we got this. It's as I was explaining yesterday to young Mr. Steve, is one of my producers, my local show. He's 28. He doesn't get it. He's like, I don't remember the Cold War. I don't even know what that's about. To him, war is the climate change, and that's there is no. This is different, and the world's watching. The world's watching at what we do. Because if there is no real payback for this, what's to stop him from Poland, Moldova, Latvia, Estonia? What do we do then? Well, we're all in NATO. NATO's one of those things where it seemed like a good idea, right? But we never thought we'd actually have to do anything. Yeah, that's kind of it. The world woke up today, things had changed. The world woke up today, things had changed, and people who are older understand that this is not the saber rattle. This is different.
These are among the darkest hours for Europe since the end of World War II.
Yeah. It's ugly, for sure. And we're going to watch it happen. And we did make a promise. And when we made that promise, regardless of who the president was, that was made with the full might of the United States. And we don't want to get into it, right? Like, we're going to get into it, but not get into it.
President Biden has made it very clear that this is not our fight. So Ukraine is not a member of NATO. It's never going to be a member of NATO. Someday, maybe it'll be a member of the EU, but it is not our fight. It's not NATO's fight, but it is still very, very concerning.
Yeah, because Poland's next door, and people are already saying, oh, what about Poland? By the way, the one thing about Poland is his troops. First of all, we've got troops over there training. I think we got the airborne division over there, 82nd, training in Poland, getting ready for what is going to be a humanitarian disaster, anywhere between 1 million to 5 million people fleeing the country in the next potentially 72 hours. Think about that. Secondly, any NATO country, right? So today, Article 4 is basically, has been called for, which is getting together and having emergency meetings about the, oh my God, what if scenario. Because Article 4 turns into Article 5. And Article 5 is as I call it, the Three Musketeers. All for one and one for all. You attack one, you attack all. And Putin has come out and somewhat threatened, hey, you know what? Anybody who gets in my way, you'll feel the nuclear side of it, essentially. Which I don't think he would do. But in this day and age, you don't know. And I've heard more and more over the last couple days, the world leaders who've met with him over years say that he's not the same guy he was a few years ago. That maybe isolation because of COVID, and that he's far more erratic. So that's what we got. And on the other side of it, we do have to think about ourselves here at home right now. What's our immediate issue? Well, it's simple. It's gasoline.
With oil prices jumping dramatically by tonight, analyst Patrick DeHaan at Gas Buddy tells us gas prices will be going up. They're already high in most places, but he says we will see a dramatic rise in the coming days.
For Americans, they can expect the national average likely to hit $3.75 a gallon in the next 2 weeks.
And in places like California, where many people are already paying $5 a gallon for regular unleaded, he says in the coming week, $6 a gallon is not out of the question.
Yeah. Think about this. Where are our ports that we get so much of our goods from? California. They're going to be paying far more to get our goods from point A to point B, which means the people buying those goods are going to be paying more. They're not going to absorb the cost. Then those people who are getting those goods from other people to put together whatever it is that you're looking for in your widget, they're going to have to pay more as well. And by the time it gets to the shelf, that 7%, 8%, 10% inflation now is running wild. And you feel that. That's where we're going to feel it first. But the trickle-on effect of gas pump to cash register, we'll feel that soon. Very soon. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Bottom of the hour, my buddy Zach Abraham, Bulwark Capital, is going to join us. We're going to talk about the market itself. The market is off today. The market likes stability. The market doesn't have stability because, well, what's going on in the Ukraine? How is that going to affect your pocketbook? How's that going to affect your investments? What's going to happen? Is money going to start to dry up? Are we going to see a bear market, which means a potential recession? We'll discuss that. A lot of stuff still to get to. Car Shield, speaking of inflation, stuff through the roof. You know that. Cars, in particular used cars, are absolutely running wild in prices. And for many people out there, you've had your car for a while. You don't want to let it go because you know, man, it's going to be so expensive to go buy another car. Oh, yeah, think about that. So what are you doing? Well, how are you protecting yourself? You don't have a warranty anymore. Well, the simple thing is you get CarShield. You get 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free while your car's in the shop, and you choose the shop. They get them paid directly. It's very simple to do, right? You pay a small deductible, and you go from there. They've helped over 1 million drivers, and they're ready to help you. They've got all kinds of plans to fit anybody's budget. So you go through the plans, and I'm also going to save you a little bit more money. Go to carshield.com/Benson. When you do, you save an extra 10% right there. That's carshield.com/Benson, carshield.com/Benson. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Being antisocial sucks. Hang with Chad's friends on Facebook, The Chad Benson Show. And if you just need some alone time, head on over to Twitter @Chad Benson Show. Either way, we can't wait to meet the real you.
I think this is probably the first time this record has been played on the air, and it's about to be released. This thing called ABC?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you agree? The Jackson 5.
Michael was like 6. He was 11. We get a little smile for all the hell going on today. You look at that and you think, my goodness me, how incredible is that? More, Mike. It was 11 years old, released on this day in 1970. You're like some grown men, it looked like. And 2 young kids singing, but Michael was just like, he was out there, right? Like, this was before he became Diana Ross and weird. People always ask me about, because I can't listen to Michael Jackson songs because I just can't listen to him. I think we all know why. That being said, I can listen to Jackson 5 stuff because I was like, it's before all this stuff. Before he started looking like Diana Ross. Just not very nice, Chad. Just not very nice. My goodness me. Craziness going on, obviously, what's happening over there in Russia. It is, this is vile. It is just disgusting. And what they are doing is, again, we woke up today and the world had changed. And a younger generation is going to ask questions about what do you mean the world has changed? Because they don't know Cold War. They don't know any of that stuff. You do. Your grandparents did. Your mother and father did. And this is something that's different. We haven't seen this before. This is the largest action taken since World War II, since those old stuff that you'd see on the military channel. New poll says about a quarter of Americans want us to get involved in any way, shape, or form. A good majority of Americans don't. We're war weary. We're tired. Our men and women have been fighting for 2 decades in far-gone lands, not even counting some of the other stuff that we don't know about. But the reality is that there are things that we have to recognize that may happen. Do I think things are going to happen? I don't know. Do I think that NATO is going to get dragged into this? I think first NATO is going to get dragged into this because I do believe we're going to get cyber attacks, and we're going to get more than a few of them, not just here, but on NATO countries. How does NATO react to that? That's a good question. Then, of course, at home, you've got, inflation going up. The one good news is, jobs.
The 4-week moving average for jobless benefit claims continues to fall back from its pandemic highs. In the last week, 232,000 first-time applications were filed, a decline of 17,000 from the week before. Missouri saw the largest increase in claims, while Connecticut saw the greatest decrease.
Yeah. So at least there are jobs, and people aren't really applying. And we talked about that because a lot of people have taken the opportunity to start their own business, to do a lot of different things that they've always wanted to do, to hustle and do side hustles and turn it into a career. But, jobs are available. So the one thing is the economy's in a weird thing. It's gone okay in many cases. Other cases, though, I just think there's this underlying current of people not confident in what may happen with COVID. Now you throw what just took place here, the rising cost of inflation, the situation that's may become even more volatile with the relationship with China and Russia and us. You got a lot of things, and I don't think people are confident about what's going to happen. And speaking of that, we're going to talk about the marketplace itself. How do you position yourself? What do you do? Are we headed for a recession? Because today the market was down at one point, 700 plus points. Right now it's down about 600. Is this going to be a blip? Or are we going to continue to see, as Russia goes deeper in, that there is going to be uncertainty? What are you to do? We're going to talk about that. Buddy Zach Abraham, Bulwark Capital, is going to join us straight ahead to talk about the marketplace, energy prices, where they may be going, and how ugly that could get, because we know that's going to play a huge part in the world because, well, inflation, it kicks you in the grundle. I think we know that. Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Went to bed last night knowing full well world was going to be different when I woke up. That is true. As the Ukraine has been invaded by Russia and sanctions. The markets are crazy. Joining us now from Bulwark Capital is their Chief Investment Officer, Zach Abraham. And Zach, ugly to say the least. The market's getting pounded right now. We do live in a world where we're looking at that going, that sucks. But at the same time, we're like, how does this affect me? Let's talk market first. Market's getting thumped a little bit.
Oh, did something happen this morning?
I heard.
Last night?
I heard.
Yeah, so this really isn't, I guess there's two ways you can look at it, through the market lens or the geopolitical lens. What's happened in the market is not really surprising. We've been short the NASDAQ in tech for most of the last month and a half or so, and that's been a great trade for us. It's allowed us to be basically even on the year. And we're trimming that back right now because you got the war going on. The Fed just got its excuse not to raise rates again. So this, and Chad, this is sort of the spiral that we've been afraid of, meaning, and I know you know this because you're a market junkie like I am, but George Soros, who I'm not a fan of politically, right? But he unquestionably knows.
He's a brilliant
money.
trader. He's a brilliant, like The Alchemy of Finance is a brilliant book. His mind is amazing in this. But the reality is, I don't have to like his politics to understand his worth when it comes to this side of the world.
Right. And he talks about, in The Alchemy of Finance, one of my favorites, he talks about his theory of reflexivity, right, which is things feed on themselves. First, things go up or down for fundamental reasons, and then if they're going up, they continue to go up because they've gone up, right? And the higher they go, the more people jump on the bandwagon. The same is true in all things, right? There's cycles. And we've been in that deflationary mesh for about 40 years, meaning everything that happened, the impact it had was deflationary. It's like you flipped a switch when COVID hit. Everything now is coming up inflation, right? So, like I said, you've got the CPI rolling at 7% and climbing. You've got this war kicking in now. The Fed's going to hold back on rate hikes. And that's one of the reasons we pulled back on our tech short. A, we've made a lot of money, don't like to give it back. But second of all, I think you could see a big rip in tech here because people are dying for an excuse to get back into that trade. And you and I both know these markets have become incredibly blind to economic reality and real financial risk because it hasn't been realized in so long. And that irrationality is not over, and I think that the Fed is going to lead the charge. So I just get ready for the unexpected, because I think you could see a big rally here because war has been announced, ironically.
Well, again, war's always been big business for a lot of people, but it's a weird war, Zach, because we're not in it, but we're going to potentially some profit off of it, but also feel the repercussions, because all that being said, the average person who's maybe just getting into investing or worried about their retirement, you're looking at these things. But let's talk about the energies, because it got over 100 today rather fast, and I still think there's more room for this thing to go. And we're talking about oil, which will reflect our pocketbooks to the negative, because we're going to see rising gas prices. But I think right now it burst through, and it's kind of sitting, waiting for more moves from Putin.
Oh, yeah. That's the funny, we've been saying this for a while now, as everybody's like, oh, oil will settle down once the Ukraine situation dies down. And our answer to that has been oil's not where it's at because of the Ukraine situation. Oil's where it's at because supply is not coming back online and demand is returning to record levels. And then now with Omicron, right, here in Washington State, mask mandate ends in the next couple weeks. Economies are opening back up. That supply dynamic in oil has not gotten better. Okay, so if we're draining inventories right now at $100 a barrel oil, what happens when you crank this thing all the way open, right? You start looking at airplane traffic that's scheduled for this summer. Another good sign is look at hospitality and leisure, right? This last quarter was one of the biggest hiring quarters ever in hospitality and leisure. They're not hiring all these people because it's going to be a slow summer, right? So you look at this, war, obviously, you're going to get a global, you're seeing that conflict premium being built into the price of oil. And here's one of the crazy things, Chad, as weird as this is to say, one of our favorite trades now for about the last 14 months, and not really even a trade, an investment, and honestly, since oil went to negative 37 is when we started getting into the sector. But the amazing thing is, you look at the price of these oil stocks, they're still ridiculously cheap. You haven't missed the boat on this stuff at all, and I'm not giving a blanket recommendation to people. This is like a wildcat riding these kind of things, but it just amazes me how blind this market is to real value. You've got a global oil shortage, a war spiking the price of oil, and traders are climbing over themselves to buy the dip in Tesla. You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah, it's crazy. Zach Abraham, Bulwark Capital, he's their chief investment officer over there, joins us, talk about the marketplace. You look at the market, inflation is definitely going to play a part in this. It's moving into areas, especially in certain sectors. People are worried. Underneath, Zach, the average consumer is worried that we're heading towards a real recession, and it's a very bizarre world of the economy we live in, where things are good, housing prices are through the roof, you can't seem to get stuff, we are still consuming. All that being said, we're waiting for something to happen that's going to send, it's just the other shoe to drop, if you will.
Yeah, the war could be it, because, the war, we'll see. The other thing, too, is that you don't want to hype these things too much, especially when you're dealing with Russia on the other side. The term Potemkin village came from Russia, so things are not always what they seem. And so there's always that caveat. You never, in the military, I've heard Navy SEALs talk about this, that it is a practice of theirs to disregard the first report from a battle scene. Right, like the first initial read on things is very seldom correct. But I will go back to a letter, Chad, that we wrote to our clients back in October, and I remember it was a bit of a gut check for me at the time, because it was kind of calling our shot. And the name of the letter was Buy Dirt, and I was explaining to our clients why we were going to be pivoting into hard assets, more natural resources, more traditional type stocks. And the one thing I warned them that is and I think you've said it perfectly, the other shoe to drop, craziness, what does this look like? I think that you've got inflation ahead. I think that you've got some tough sailing. But the only thing I'm really positive of is it's going to be crazy. And this is what I was explaining to our clients. That, look, we don't know exactly how this is going to play out, especially in the short term. But if I sit back and look at the world today, and I look at all the different circumstances playing out, what is it that I should be wanting? for practical reasons, for value reasons, for inflationary reasons, what should I be wanting? I should be wanting the things that cannot be conjured or printed or, things that actually have scarcity, right? Natural resources. And not all, we've got to stay diversified, but I think the real opportunity there is not only are these types of investments, I think, going to pay like they weigh into the future for all kinds of reasons, but they also happen to be the most unloved assets. And you and I know the history of markets. When you reach market peaks, not always, but pretty darn close, whatever has done the best, you should sell, and whatever has done the worst, you should buy. And the setup could not be more clear right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, there's, it's, what's his name? Ferguson was in the Wall Street Journal. The New York Post was writing about, look, there's going to be people that are going to make a ton of money and some people are going to lose a ton of money because volatility is where traders love to go.
Yes.
And they live for this stuff. The average person's looking at the gas, though, the energy prices, heating oil, these kind of things. We're consuming more, and now with the sanctions going on to Russia, the reality is there is going to be the same amount of consumption, but now we're all going to be fighting over a smaller, if you will, a pool of oil and some resources, and that includes us here. Where do you see it going, and what's that going to look like in the gas pump?
Here's the one good thing about energy, especially for us here in the United States. Okay, we will get a sane energy policy. So will Europe. The question is what price will command that, right? So the thing that you and I both know about energy, especially you've traded in it, the thing that we know about energy is it's not a fungible commodity. When you need it, you must have it, right? So, and if you don't have it, people freeze, people starve, you get riots, you get uproars, you get tumult, right? And when you look at how fragile the current power systems are in the world, you know that that's the last thing on earth that they want to throw into the mix. So there's just a pain point. And when that pain point gets reached and we get rational, I think the energy shortage, again, I think that it means higher energy prices, probably to extend for a significant amount of time into the future. That would be my guess, at least a higher average price, right? But the good news about being here in America is the pain that we're feeling at the pump, the pain that we're feeling in energy, it's completely self-inflicted. At any moment, we could we could quit flogging ourselves. And, a buddy of mine was making the point that if you wanted to start a war with us or you wanted to hamper our economy, you would do what we are doing to ourselves. And Europe is the same way, too. So the good news for us is that we will get it right. Like Winston Churchill said, the American people always get it right after they try everything else. I think this will be the same, but the question is how long does that fever last? How long does that insanity persist that we're all going to pay for and that we're paying for now? I don't know. Maybe it's $150 oil. Maybe it's $200 oil. What I will tell you is barring some massive shift of some kind or maybe some disruptive technology like cold fusion, it doesn't take a genius or a market master to sit there and look at oil and realize if something drastic is not done, you will see $200 plus oil.
Oh, God, that's the people in California and across the country are going, oh, my God, California, that's $10 a gallon. I can't do it. Last day, people want to reach you. You're doing a webinar today. It's a cool thing. You guys never sat through it. We've done it. Producer Phil, our producer's done it here. It's really cool. And you guys, I'm sure, are going to be shaping some of the message around what we're talking about today.
Yeah, 100%. And really reiterating to people, too, and I'm not just talking our own book, but I think you hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of uncertainty, which means there's going to be a lot of volatility. And the passive approach for investing that's worked over the last 15 years, it's just not going to be nearly as effective, and it's probably going to be damaging. And I think these are times where you want an active manager. And a lot of people are like, what does that mean? In this webinar, that's what we get into, Chad. Explain how we manage, explain how we build the portfolios for our clients, explain our income planning process. So after a half hour, presentation, and then we do Q&A, and that usually runs 20 or 30 minutes, but you don't have to stay for that. But you'll know exactly how we do everything and our philosophy, and at least be armed with a little more knowledge afterwards.
Well, people
they can sign up for that at bulwarkcapitalmanagement.com.
Right on, man. Love having you on. Love talking about this. $200, barrel of oil doesn't sound exciting because I don't own any oil wells. But if I did, that would sound exciting. Zach Abraham, Bulwark Capital Management. If you want to check out the webinar today, it's going on at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thanks so much, brother. Always good talking to you. We'll do it again.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. The marketplace, crazy, volatile. What are you going to do? That's a big thing. And people, we look at that. We do. We look at that as a part of our confidence in the economy. And God only knows at this point. And again, $200 a gallon. Could you imagine? I mean, for oil, 150 even, 120. Oh, my God. That would be insane. Talk about that. Wrap it up straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
If you like talk radio like Chad Benson likes his meals, you've come to the perfect place for takeout.
Want the West to do more to dissuade them from continuing this mad attack.
Yeah, Igor Kossoff, who is born in Kyiv, works over there as an author, and is feeling it, seeing it. Grew up in New York. Is, like a lot of people, asking the question, where's the West?
I'm just furious. It's a rage that just starts deep in the bones.
Yeah, understandable. I think, and maybe rightly so, they feel like they're abandoned. They were promised something in 94 if they gave up their nuclear weapons, that we, not just us, but the West, and by the way, the Russians signed on to that, would be there in case something was to happen. It's a serious question. Again, we'll have more about this tomorrow, the reaction of, Biden and does, what in God's name are we going to do if he wants to do something else? And the NATO alliance, and I think this is something that we need to think about. NATO, we talked to Mike Lyons yesterday, and he said, NATO needs to be rethought anyways. Trump was a big pusher about that. Do we really need NATO in this way? We let some people into NATO that maybe shouldn't have been, others that probably wanted to be in NATO, we didn't let in. They feel, that they're being abandoned. But I say, what if? I mean, what if Poland is attacked? What if Estonia is attacked? Are we as NATO members, right? The founding members of NATO, are we going to go, I mean, what if? Well, Chad, you can't live in a what if. No, but you've got to prepare for a what if, because what if is happening in the Ukraine right now. And this isn't a war. This isn't a slog out fight where you've got two people that are battling it out. This is not that. This is going to be potentially a beatdown of epic proportions. We're seeing it. It's the other thing. We're getting it streamed live. Go to Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, type in Ukraine. You're seeing people film stuff from their home and put it up. And it's flashing around the world in a second. This is war. A war that we haven't seen 70 years. And the difference is, when we saw that war, so much of what we did see, which was very little at the time, was somewhat staged. Meaning, yeah, the war happened, but a lot of the bad stuff was left on the cutting room floor. We have a chance to see stuff in real time. Frontline stuff. Something to think about. And what will be our role? A lot of people don't want to get involved. Understandable. We're war weary. At the same time, what's America's promise if we're not going to fulfill it? Should it matter? Should be like, it's a you problem? What happens if he makes another step? And this time NATO has to get involved. Are we going to say, screw that? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you guys. Have a great day. Oh, man, Lord. I look over there. I see Friday. Night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.